How many times in our lives do we pause to truly reflect on the meaning of life? Amidst the hustle and bustle of work, worries, and ambitions, we often rush forward without asking ourselves what we are living for. There are stories that bring tears to our eyes, not because of tragedy, but because they subtly reflect ourselves. The things we have experienced or are trying to avoid. In this video, we listen to a heart-wrenching story about human existence to better understand love, loss, and the value of the present. This is not just a story to listen to for emotional reflection. It's a mirror reflecting how we treat our loved ones, our time, and ourselves. Watch until the end and share your feelings in the comments. Because who knows, this story might touch a very deep corner of your heart. The story begins with very ordinary things. Small family with hurried meals, seemingly unintentional words, and promises to care for each other more tomorrow. The main character is engrossed in his work, believing that with just a little more effort, everything will be fine. He thinks that there is plenty of time, that love can wait. But life doesn't always wait for us to be ready. Unexpected events struck, bringing with it an irreplaceable loss. In that moment of facing grief, he realized that the things he had once taken for granted were actually the most precious. Simple meals, familiar questions, small arguments, these were now memories that could never be relived. His regret didn't stem from a lack of success, but from a lack of presence. He was physically there, but his mind was elsewhere. And only when he lost it did he understand that the most important thing in life isn't how much you achieve, but how much you love completely. That story makes us slow down. It reminds us that each day is a gift. People who are with us today may not be there forever. Words of love, if left unsaid, may never have the chance to be said again. Life is more fragile than we think, and that's why it's all the more precious. As you listen to this story, you might remember someone. You might want to send a text message, make a phone call, or simply spend more time with family. If that happens, then the story has fulfilled its purpose. Watch until the end, fully appreciate every detail, and don't hesitate to share your feelings in the comments. Perhaps your comments will help someone realize the value of the present moment before it's too late. Life begins with a newborn's cry. It is the first sound of a human existence, both fragile and powerful. A child comes into the world unconsciously, unaware of joy or sorrow, gain or loss, or whether life is long or short. That cry is like a declaration that a journey has begun, a story being written from its first pages. Humans come into the world unconsciously and then grow up amidst countless influences. We learn to name things, learn to walk, to speak, to love, and to be angry. With each passing year, we gradually form our personalities, dreams, and ambitions. We begin to chase goals, believing that simply achieving this or that will make life more complete. But in this whirlwind, few people stop to ask themselves how they are living. We are preoccupied with proving ourselves, comparing ourselves to others, and striving for superiority. There are days when we laugh a lot, but there are also nights spent tossing and turning with nameless worries. Life seems to be a series of choices, and each choice leaves its mark. When we are young, we think time is endless. We believe that every opportunity can be put off until later. Promise to pay more attention to our parents when we have free time. To spend time with our family when our careers are stable, and to take care of our health when we are successful. We live as if tomorrow will surely come. But life offers no promises. Time passes silently, without noise or warning. One day, looking back, we are startled to realize our hair has turned gray, our parents have grown old, and our children have grown up. Things we once took for granted suddenly become more precious than ever. People leave this world with many regrets. Regrets for not having had the chance to apologize. Regrets for not having had the chance to express love. Regrets for having spent too much time on things that weren't truly important. When faced with the boundary between life and death, fame and fortune seem to lose their meaning. What often haunts us isn't that we're not rich enough, but that we haven't lived deeply enough. We haven't truly listened to our loved ones. We haven't truly forgiven misunderstandings. We haven't truly lived fully in the present moment. Life, therefore, carries within it a very subtle, yet very real sadness. Some people spend their whole lives searching for success, forgetting about peace. Some hold on to resentment, unaware that time waits for no one to reconcile. Some are so harsh on themselves that they forget how to smile. We are all on our own paths, but the ultimate destination is the same. The fragility of life is not meant to frighten us, but to remind us to cherish what we have. When we understand that everything can be lost, we learn to appreciate what we have even more. A family meal, a sincere conversation, a hand to hold during difficult times. These are the things that will last a long time in our memories. Life is not just a series of days of existence, but how we live each day. We can choose to live hastily or choose to live consciously. We can choose to harbor resentment or choose to learn to be forgiving. Every small choice contributes to the quality of our lives. When we are young, we often think we have to become someone great. But as we mature, we realize that the most important thing is to become a better version of ourselves. We don't need to be better than others, just better than we were yesterday. It's a quiet but persistent journey. There are moments in life that completely change our perspective on existence. It could be the passing of a loved one, a major life event, or simply sitting alone and realizing we've been living too fast. These moments are like a wake-up call, reminding us to return to what's truly at our core. Humans come into this world unconsciously, but can leave in awareness. That awareness comes when we understand that life is not as long as we think. When we learn to let go of what is unimportant and keep what is truly important. When we learn to express gratitude more often than complaints. If we lived each day with the awareness that time is limited, perhaps we would be different. We would be less angry about trivial matters. We would spend more time with loved ones. We would take better care of ourselves, both physically and mentally. We would cherish each morning we wake up. Life is like a journey without a complete map. We don't know the twists and turns or the forks in the road ahead, but we can choose how we walk. We can walk with gratitude instead of resentment. We can walk with love instead of indifference. Looking back on the entire journey, what makes us smile is perhaps not the money earned, but the memories we've lived. The times we laughed with family, the times we overcame difficulties with perseverance, the times we dared to forgive and were forgiven. Those are the true assets. Life begins with tears, but it doesn't necessarily have to end with regret. If we slow down, love more, and live more consciously, we can minimize unfinished business. We can't completely control when we leave, but we can control how we live before it happens. Ask yourself if you have lived fully today. Have you spoken words of love? Have you done what you believe is right? Each day is a unique opportunity. When we understand this, we will no longer live in ignorance. Ultimately, life is a journey from the first cry of a newborn to the last breath. Between those 2 points lie countless stories, choices, and emotions. We cannot extend this journey indefinitely, but we can make it more profound. And when the time comes to leave, what remains is not regret, but serenity for having lived life to the fullest. When we are young, we often think that time is endless. The days ahead stretch on like a road without a destination. We believe we have many opportunities to correct mistakes, to express love, to complete unfinished tasks. It is this very belief that makes us prone to procrastination. We delay apologizing when we hurt someone. We tell ourselves we can say it later. We think the relationship is strong enough to wait. We believe the other person will understand without a direct acknowledgement. But each time we remain silent, a distance is created. We also procrastinate on showing our affection. We're busy with studies, work, friends, and personal plans. We think that family is still there, parents are still healthy, and close friends are always available. We assume that affection doesn't need daily nurturing. We take their presence for granted. But time doesn't stand still as we imagine. It silently slips away, taking with it youth, the health of loved ones, and opportunities that will never return. One day, looking back, we realize there are apologies we no longer have the chance to say. There are people we wanted to care for more, but they are no longer there as they once were. Youth makes us feel invincible. We think that today's mistakes can be easily corrected tomorrow. We don't fully appreciate the value of each moment because we believe there are so many more moments ahead. This feeling of abundance leads us to squander time unconsciously. Arguments can drag on simply because both sides wait for the other to speak first. Think silence is the way to save face. We think apologizing first means defeat. But as time goes by, what remains is not victory or defeat, but regret for letting ego override feelings. When we are young, we often prioritize ambition. That's not wrong. But if in pursuing our goals, we forget about those who stand by us, then when we achieve success, the joy may not be complete. achievements cannot replace broken relationships. There are evenings when our parents want to talk, but we're preoccupied with our phones or work. We think we can talk later, but we don't realize that with each passing day, they get older. If our care isn't shown promptly, it can become something left unfulfilled. The same goes for apologies. The longer you wait, the harder they become. Initially, it's just a simple sentence, but over time, it becomes a burden. We fear confronting the situation, fear rejection, fear admitting our mistakes. Silence over time creates distance. Only after experiencing loss do people truly understand the value of time. When a loved one is gone, we wish we had called more often. When a friend leaves, we wish we had taken the initiative to mend the relationship sooner. But those wishes cannot be turned back. Time is the fairest asset. Everyone has 24 hours a day, but how we use it determines the quality of our lives. If we use our time to nurture love, we will receive connection in return. If we use it to nurture resentment, we will receive distance. Youth gives us energy and opportunities, but it can also easily lead to complacency. We think everything can wait. But the reality is that not everything waits until we are ready. Some opportunities only come once. Some people only appear during a certain period of our lives. As we mature, we begin to understand that time is not infinite. Each day that passes is a part of life that can never be recovered. This realization is not meant to make us anxious, but to remind us to live more consciously. Don't wait until it's too late to express your love. Don't wait until you lose something to realize its value. A timely apology can save a relationship. A phone call to check in can warm the hearts of loved ones. An evening spent with family can become a cherished memory. These seemingly small things hold great meaning when we look back. Time is not endless, but there is enough if we know how to cherish it. When we stop procrastinating, we begin to live more proactively. We dare to admit our mistakes sooner. We proactively care before being reminded. We choose to love while we still can. Perhaps true maturity begins when we understand that tomorrow is not certain. When we realize that we won't let apologies lie dormant in our hearts. We won't let concern remain just in our thoughts. We'll act today. Youth is a precious gift, but time is something that cannot be bought back. If we know how to use it to build relationships, to heal, and to love, we will have fewer regrets. And when we look back on the journey we've taken, we can smile, because we didn't let the most important things be delayed for too long. There was a young man who left his hometown for the city. The day he boarded his first bus, his heart was full of dreams. He wanted to change his life. He wanted to succeed. He wanted his family to be proud of him. His mother stood at the gate, giving him countless pieces of advice, her eyes filled with both worry and trust. He promised to try his best, promised to call home often. In the early days in the city, everything was new. He was overwhelmed by the fast pace of life, the tall buildings, and the wide-open opportunities. He threw himself into studying and working with all his determination. He worked during the day and studied at night. He believed that with a few years of hard work, his life would be different. Occasionally, my mother would call to check on me. These calls were brief, usually when I was busy. I'd quickly reply that I was fine, that I had too much work to talk for long. My mother would just smile kindly and tell me to take care of myself. I'd always end with, "I'll call you another time so we can talk more." But on other days, he rarely came. As time passed, his career stabilized. He was promoted, and his income improved. He moved to a larger room and bought things he had always dreamed of. He regularly sent money home to his mother, believing he had fulfilled his duty. In his mind, material possessions could compensate for his absence. Back in his hometown, his mother still lived in the old house. She didn't ask for much. Whenever neighbors inquired about her son, she would proudly tell them that he was working in a big city and was very busy. She understood how hard he worked and didn't want to bother him. As a result, the calls became less frequent. There were evenings when my mother would sit alone on the porch holding her old phone. She would think about calling but then stop. Afraid I was working, she told herself I would call when I had time. Amidst meetings and gatherings, often thought of my mother, but then put it off until later. He always believed he had plenty of time. One day, while at work, he received a call from his neighbor. The voice on the other end was urgent. His mother was seriously ill and had been hospitalized. His ears buzzed. The sounds around him faded away. He had never imagined such a situation. In his mind, his mother was still as healthy as the day she saw him off. He hastily requested time off and booked a bus ticket home that night. On the long bus ride, he looked out the window, his heart heavy. So many memories flooded back. His mother staying up late waiting for him to finish his homework. Her toiling in the field so he could earn money to go to the city. Her standing at the gate, watching him disappear from sight. He opened his phone and looked back at his call history. The few numbers made his heart ache. There were days his mother called and he didn't answer. There were messages asking how he was doing that he answered vaguely. Calls he never made suddenly became his greatest regret. When he arrived at the hospital, his mother had weakened considerably. She lay there, thinner than he remembered. Once strong hands trembled. When she saw him, her eyes lit up, but also held so much unspoken sorrow. He held her hand, feeling the fragility of the woman who had once been so strong and protective of him. He said he was sorry for not calling home often. Tears welled up in his eyes. For the first time, he felt so small. His mother just shook her head gently, saying that it was good that he was busy, and that as long as he was doing well, she would be at peace. That forgiveness only made him feel more guilty. In the days that followed, he spent more time with his mother, put aside his work, sitting and listening to her tell stories about the village, the harvest, and the times she missed him but didn't dare call. He realized that what his mother needed was never money. What she needed was simply his presence and a meaningful conversation. He realized that success couldn't compensate for missed opportunities. Signed contracts, lavish parties suddenly felt alien. What hurt him most wasn't his mother's illness, but the time he had carelessly let slip away. Fortunately, his mother pulled through the critical period, but that shock was enough to change him. After his mother was discharged from the hospital, he decided to reorganize his life. He didn't give up his career, but he learned to balance things. Every evening he made time to call home. Calls were no longer rushed. He truly listened. He also made arrangements to visit home more often. Each time he returned, he no longer just brought money and left immediately. He cooked with his mother, went to the market with her, and sat on the porch chatting. He realized that these simple things brought him a sense of peace that the city could not provide. His story isn't uncommon. Many people who leave their hometowns are preoccupied with building their careers, believing that sending money is enough. But sentiment cannot be replaced by material things. A 5-minute phone call can be far more heartwarming than a large sum of money. Time waits for no one. Parents grow older every day, whether we realize it or not. Calls we don't make today may become impossible. The greatest regret isn't not being successful enough, but not having loved while we still could. The son in the story was fortunate enough to have the chance to correct his mistake. But not everyone gets that opportunity. So, while you still can, pick up the phone and call home. Tell them you miss them. Ask how they are doing. Those simple words can become the most precious thing in life. Ultimately, true success isn't measured solely by position or income. It's also measured by inner peace and fulfilling relationships. Don't wait until you receive bad news to realize the value of a phone call, because there are things that once lost can never be recovered, no matter how many achievements you have. Life is a series of choices. From momentous decisions like choosing a career or a life partner, to seemingly small ones like choosing to remain silent or speak up, choosing to forgive or harbor resentment. Each choice subtly shapes our path and leaves its mark on our memories. When we are young, we are less aware of the weight of choices. We act on instinct, following the advice of adults, and according to circumstances. But as we grow older, we understand that no one can choose for us forever. Every crossroads requires careful consideration, and no matter which we choose, we must live with its consequences. There are choices that bring immediate joy. We choose the easy way over the difficult. We choose comfort over discipline. In that moment, we feel relieved. But time will tell whether that decision was truly the right one. Conversely, there are choices that require sacrifice. We turn down an attractive opportunity to be closer to family. We choose to tell the truth, even knowing it might offend. We choose to start over instead of continuing on a path that is no longer right for us. These decisions may cause us inner turmoil, but in the long run, they often bring profound peace. Every choice leaves its mark on our memories. Some memories bring a smile to our faces when we recall them. It's the day we dared to try something new. It's the time we proactively apologized and saved a relationship. It's the moment we chose to believe in ourselves despite others' doubts. But there are also memories that haunt us. There are times when we remain silent when we should have spoken up. Times when we let our ego get the better of us. Times when we postponed a call and then missed the opportunity. Those choices can't be erased, but they teach us lessons. Life is irreversible. We cannot go back and choose differently. We don't have the opportunity to live multiple versions of ourselves to compare. Therefore, every decision is unique. This may cause us anxiety, but it also makes life meaningful, because each step is real and irreplaceable. Some people think that only big choices matter. But in reality, it's the small, repeated choices each day that make a difference. We choose to wake up early or sleep in. We choose to read or mindlessly scroll through, choose to listen or interrupt. These small actions accumulate into habits, and habits shape who we are. Memories not only preserve events, but also the accompanying emotions. When we recall a decision, we remember the joy, the fear, the excitement, or the regret. These emotions give depth to human life. Without choices, life would probably be uneventful but also bland. Sometimes we wonder what would have happened if we had chosen differently that day, if we had accepted that job, if we hadn't let go of that person, if we had been a little braver. These assumptions are natural, but instead of dwelling on regret, we can see them as lessons to help us make better choices in the present. Every choice reflects the values we pursue. When we choose honesty despite the disadvantages, we are prioritizing integrity over short-term gain. When we choose perseverance despite exhaustion, we are prioritizing long-term goals. When we choose to love despite past hurts, we are believing in the power of love. Not every choice is clearly right or wrong. There are situations where both paths have their pros and cons. In such cases, what matters is not just the outcome, but the clear-headedness in making the decision. Consider, we listen to our inner selves, and then we take responsibility. Maturity is demonstrated in how we face consequences. If the outcome is good, we are grateful and continue to strive. If the outcome is not as expected, we don't blame the circumstances entirely. We reflect to understand what we were lacking. This process helps us become more mature. Life is like a book, written with choices. Each chapter is a stage, each page a day lived. Some pages are brilliant, some are somber, but together they form each person's unique story. No two people have the same book. Looking back on the journey we've taken, we can clearly see the impact of important decisions. Some choices have opened up new opportunities. Some choices have closed the door on relationships. Some choices have caused us pain, but have made us stronger. The scary thing isn't choosing wrong, but not daring to choose. Prolonged hesitation can cause us to miss opportunities. Sometimes taking an imperfect step is better than standing still in fear. Life is always in motion, and we need to move forward too. To make better choices, we need to understand ourselves. We need to know what we value, what we fear, and what we desire. When we understand ourselves, decisions become less ambiguous. Regardless of the outcome, we will feel that we have lived true to our values. Ultimately, life is a never-ending series of choices. From the moment we wake up until the moment we close our eyes to sleep, we are always choosing. Each choice is a brick building the path to the future. And in retrospect, those very bricks form our memories. If we live consciously in every decision we make, our memories will be lighter later on. There may still be regrets, but not as much remorse. Because we know we have considered each choice and lived wholeheartedly. Therefore, cherish the right to choose. Think before you decide, but don't be paralyzed by fear, because no matter what, it is those choices that make us who we are. And one day, when we look back, we will understand that every decision, big or small, contributes to the unique story of our lives. There are fathers who silently sacrifice their entire lives. They are not accustomed to saying sweet words, nor do they often express their emotions with hugs or loving words. But behind that silence lies a whole world of responsibility and a silent burden that their children sometimes only fully understand much later. Fathers are often absent during the most tender moments, but they are always present during the most difficult times. When the family faces challenges, the father is the one who takes the lead. When finances are tight, the father is the one who thinks the hardest, staying up late and waking up early to find ways to make ends meet. A father's sacrifice is not ostentatious, but it is as persistent as an underground stream nourishing the entire household. There were mornings when, while the children were still asleep, the father would leave home for work. There were nights when, after everyone had gone to bed, he would return, looking exhausted. The children grew up under such protection, often failing to realize how much effort and personal dreams their father had sacrificed. Fathers rarely talk about the pressures they face. They tend to keep their worries to themselves. They don't want their children to be burdened. Instead, they choose to remain silent and continue striving. This silence sometimes leads children to misunderstand their fathers as being aloof and unapproachable. When we were young, we were usually closer to our mothers. We could easily share our joys and sorrows with them. Fathers, on the other hand, were often strict, setting rules and reminding us to strive harder. We might have resented our fathers for their reprimands, but as we grew older, we understood that behind that strictness was a desire for us to be strong and independent. There are fathers who never say their children are their pride and joy, but quietly boast to their friends about their children's achievements. There are fathers who aren't good at expressing their emotions, but always follow their children's every step with a caring gaze. A father's love isn't expressed in many words, but it's profound and enduring. A father's sacrifices are sometimes very small things. It's giving his child the best part of the meal. It's wearing an old shirt for a few more years to save money for his child's books. It's accepting hard work so his child can have a better education. These things happen so quietly that we easily take them for granted. As time passes, children grow up and leave the family's embrace. Their father remains, silently watching over them. When they face setbacks, he may not offer comforting words, but he will provide practical advice and stand behind them as a support. His presence is like a solid anchor, unassuming but always ready. There are times when a distance grows between father and son. Generational differences make it difficult for them to understand each other. Son wants to be listened to while the father wants him to be stronger. But despite the conflict, the father's love never diminishes. It is simply expressed in a less spoken way. As my father grew older, I realized that those once strong shoulders were no longer the same. His once powerful hands now trembled. His once nimble steps had slowed. Time spares no one, not even the man who was once the pillar of the family. It was then that I truly understood the years my father had sacrificed. His personal dreams might have been put aside. His personal pleasures might have been given up, all so that I could have a better future. That sacrifice demanded no reward, yet it still brings a lump to my throat when I think about it. There are fathers who have never spoken words of love, but every action is a silent expression of love. That love is not ostentatious. It doesn't demand recognition. It exists like the air, quiet but essential. As we grow older and begin to shoulder responsibilities, we begin to understand the pressures our father once faced. We realize that maintaining peace in the family is not easy. We understand why our father worried so much. Perhaps what a father longs for isn't a huge reward. What he needs is simply understanding and care from his children, sincere conversation, a question about his health, a hand to hold when he's tired. These simple things mean so much. Don't wait until your father is too weak to hear to express your gratitude. Don't wait until time runs out to realize the value of his presence. A father may not say "I love you" every day, but that love is always there, as steadfast as a protective wall. There are fathers who silently sacrifice their entire lives. They rarely express their love verbally, but they silently shoulder all the burdens. When we understand this, we will see our fathers in a different light. They are not just strict or taciturn, but men who have dedicated their youth to being the pillar of support for their families. And perhaps the best way to repay that sacrifice is not with flowery words, but by living a kind, responsible life and cherishing every moment we have left with our father. Because that silent love, though not boisterous, is one of the most enduring and profound things in a person's life. In a poor rural area lived a father who worked as a hard laborer. Every day he toiled in the dusty, windy construction site. His hands were calloused, and his shirt was always drenched in sweat. His work was neither easy nor high-paying. But deep down he held a firm belief His children had to receive a proper education. His family wasn't well off. Every meal was carefully planned to ensure there was enough for everyone. Every expense had to be considered. He rarely bought himself anything new. His worn-out shirt was worn year after year. His old sandals wore down with each heavy step. Every morning, while his child was still fast asleep, he would leave the house. It wasn't quite daylight yet. The air was still cold, but he was used to it. He worked not only with his strength, but also with hope. Hope that every penny he earned would be a brick in building a better future for his child. The father was a man of few words. He didn't know how to express his feelings with flowery language. He didn't talk much about his dreams. But every time he saw his child studying under the lamplight, his eyes lit up with quiet pride. He believed that knowledge would help his child escape the hardships he himself was experiencing. There were months when work was scarce and income decreased. He took on extra work, working both day and night. His health gradually deteriorated over the years. His back began to ache, and his joints ached when the weather changed. But he didn't complain. His greatest fear was that his children would have to drop out of school. The son grew up amidst that silent sacrifice. He knew his family was struggling and that his father worked hard. But young people are often preoccupied with their own dreams. He studied diligently, determined to pass the university entrance exam so as not to disappoint his father. On the day he received his acceptance letter, he saw his father fall silent for a moment before turning away to quickly wipe away a tear. My college years were an even harder time for my father. Tuition fees and living expenses in the city were a significant burden. He continued to work tirelessly, cutting back on all personal expenses. There were times when he ate very little to save money to send to me. Every time he called, he only asked if his son was doing well in school and if he had enough money. He didn't mention his increasingly severe back pain. He didn't talk about the times he nearly fainted from overwork. He only reminded his son to study hard and not worry about him. The son graduated and then got a job in the city. The early days of his career were not easy. He struggled to find his place. The salary wasn't high and the pressure was immense. He told himself he had to try harder to succeed quickly so his father would suffer less. My father back home continues to work. He says he's still healthy and capable. In reality, his strength has diminished considerably. Calluses on his hands have thickened, and his hair has turned gray without him even noticing. But he doesn't want to be a burden. As the years passed, the son gradually progressed in his career. His job became more stable, and his income improved. He planned that when he was truly successful, he would bring his father to live with him, or at least allow him to retire completely. He thought that it just needed a little more time. But life doesn't wait for plans that haven't been put into action yet. One day, while at work, he received a call from home. His father had been hospitalized due to exhaustion. Years of hard labor had taken their toll. He rushed back, his heart heavy with worry. So many plans, so many unfulfilled promises. When he arrived, his father was already very weak. He looked at his son with the same gentle eyes as always. He didn't reproach him for his infrequent visits home. He only asked if his work was going well. Even then, he'd still put his son first. The son clasped his father's thin hand tightly. For the first time in his life, he clearly felt the fragility of the man who had once seemed the strongest in his eyes. He wanted to say thank you, to say that all his success today was thanks to his father's sacrifices. But his throat tightened. Just a few days later, the father passed away quietly, without fanfare or demands. He left this world as he had lived, silently and with endurance. A few years later, the son truly achieved success. He had a secure position, a spacious house, and a comfortable life. But every time he looked back on his journey, he always felt an unfillable void. Success came later than he could express his gratitude. He understood that he was one step too late. His gratitude hadn't been fully expressed. The days he wanted to take his father for better medical checkups hadn't been fulfilled. The evenings he wanted to sit down and talk with his father hadn't been arranged. From then on, he lived differently. He appreciated the people who were still by his side more. He understood that love and gratitude need to be expressed promptly, because we don't always have the chance to correct our mistakes. Stories of fathers working hard and demanding jobs are not uncommon. Somewhere around us, there are still fathers quietly saving every penny, sacrificing their health so their children can have a better future. They don't ask for recognition. They only hope their children live well. Success is something to be proud of, But if it comes too late to share with those who have sacrificed for you, it will carry a deep sadness. Therefore, while you still can, say thank you sooner. Show more care. Let your success be not just a personal achievement, but also a source of complete joy for those who have silently supported you throughout your life. Life is not just about loss, but also about enlightenment. Humans are born, grow up, stumble, and mature amidst the cycles of gain and loss. There are days when everything seems to be collapsing before our eyes. There are moments when it seems impossible to move forward. But it is in the depths of pain that another door silently opens. That is the door of awakening. Loss is something no one wants. We lose a loved one. We miss a valuable opportunity. We fail at a job we poured our hearts into. Each time this happens, our hearts feel like they bear another heavy burden. We wonder why life is so cruel. We blame circumstances, others, and even ourselves. But if we look deeper, we realize that loss is not just an end. It's a reminder. It forces us to pause amidst the hurried pace and reflect on ourselves. When everything is abundant, we easily take things for granted. We rarely appreciate familiar things. Only when they are gone do we understand their true value. Some people were once consumed by the pursuit of fame and fortune. They worked tirelessly, prioritizing their careers over their families. They believed that success would naturally lead to the best of everything. But one day, looking back, they realized their children had grown up without them ever truly listening to them. Their parents had aged without them ever dedicating enough time to them. That emptiness was their pain. And from that pain, they began to awaken. Awakening doesn't come with applause or glory. It comes during long, sleepless nights. It comes when we confront the truth we've deliberately avoided. Perhaps it's the truth that we've lived too selfishly. Perhaps it's the truth that we haven't dared to pursue what we truly love. Perhaps it's the truth that we've hurt others because of our ego. Pain is like a mirror. It clearly reflects our flaws, our mistakes, and even our deepest desires. When we have the courage to look into that mirror, we begin to understand ourselves better. We realize what truly matters. We understand that not every race is worth participating in. Not every competition requires winning. Some people only learn to cherish their bodies after experiencing illness. Before that, they lived recklessly, staying up late, eating irregularly, and overworking themselves. When their health deteriorated, they realized that no achievement was worth sacrificing life for. From then on, they changed their habits and appreciated every day they had while healthy. Some people only understand the value of empathy and tolerance after a relationship ends. While together, they easily lost their tempers and said hurtful things to each other. Only after the breakup did they realize that with a little more compromise and listening, things could have been different. Pain doesn't automatically yield lessons. Lessons only emerge when we reflect on them. Some people become bitter after a loss. They close themselves off and lose faith in life. But others grow stronger from that very wound. They understand that life isn't perfect, but it's precisely that imperfection that gives life its depth. Life is short. If we dwell only on regret and resentment, we will miss the opportunity to transform pain into strength. Awakening comes when we understand that every experience, joyful or sad, contributes to shaping who we are today. We cannot change the past, but we can choose how to move forward. There are people who have suffered devastating business failures. They lost money, reputation, and even the trust of their loved ones. That period was a dark one. But it was from those failures that they learned risk management, humility, and caution. When they returned, they were stronger than before. Without those setbacks, they would probably have remained complacent and overconfident. There are people who have been betrayed. They've suffered deeply. But then they realized that love is not just an emotion, but also a choice and a responsibility. They learned to love themselves before loving others. They understood that they deserve sincerity. Pain is like a heavy rain. When the rain pours down, all we feel is cold and wet. But after the rain, the sky is usually clearer. Trees are washed clean of dust. The same is true for people. After the tears, if we don't give up, our souls will become deeper. Awakening doesn't mean we no longer feel pain. It means understanding why we hurt and knowing what we need to change. It's the moment we stop blaming circumstances and begin to take responsibility for our lives. It's when we realize that happiness doesn't lie in avoiding suffering, but in how we face and overcome it. Life, therefore, is not just a series of losses. Each loss is a turning point. If we are brave enough, we will embark on a new path with a different mindset. We will learn to love more. We'll learn to appreciate the present. We'll learn to say thank you and apologize at the right time. Looking back on the journey we've taken, we may still see scars. But instead of feeling ashamed or resentful, we can smile, because those scars remind us that we've been hurt, we've stumbled, but we've also gotten back up. Pain is sometimes the most profound lesson because it touches the deepest emotions. It makes it impossible to remain indifferent. It forces us to change if we don't want to repeat our mistakes. And in that change, we grow. If you are experiencing a loss today, allow yourself time to grieve. But don't forget that behind the sadness may lie an awakening waiting. When you understand what you need to learn from that event, you will no longer see it as punishment. You will see it as a turning point. Life is a journey of experiences. Loss brings tears to our eyes. Awakening opens our eyes. And once our eyes are open, we will walk more slowly, more deeply, and more meaningfully on the rest of our lives. There was a woman who spent almost her entire life resenting her fate. From a young age, she believed she was born at the wrong time. Her family wasn't well off. Her marriage came sooner than she wished. Her youthful dreams remained unfulfilled. She often looked at others and sighed, thinking they were luckier than her. During her youth, she had many ambitions. She wanted to pursue higher education and travel far from her small village. However, family circumstances forced her to put her dreams on hold. While her friends continued their studies, she stayed home to help her parents and eventually got married. From then on, a lingering sense of regret formed in her heart. She loved her husband in the way a traditional woman would, taking care of the cooking, the children, and managing all the household chores. But deep down, she always felt she had sacrificed too much. Every time they disagreed, she would bring up the things she never had the chance to do. She believed that if she had continued her education in the past, her life would have been different. Her husband was a gentle, quiet man. He worked hard to support the family, but he wasn't good at expressing his feelings. He thought that simply bringing home enough money was fulfilling his responsibilities. His silence only made her feel more lonely. She felt misunderstood. The children grew up in that atmosphere. They felt sorry for their mother's hard work, but also feared the times she complained. She often told them about her sacrifices. She said that she had given up her dreams for them. These words were repeated over and over again, unintentionally becoming a burden on the children's hearts. As time passed, the family's finances gradually stabilized. The children excelled in their studies. She no longer had to worry about every meal as before. But instead of feeling relieved, she remained unhappy. She looked at life and only saw what she hadn't achieved. She compared herself to others and sighed. Every afternoon, when the neighbors gathered to chat animatedly, she would often say that her life was miserable. She believed she had never truly been happy. In her mind, happiness meant being richer, traveling, and living life as she pleased. Her current life, however, was nothing but resignation. The husband heard those words many times. He remained silent. At times, he wanted to say that he too had sacrificed a great deal, but he wasn't good at arguing. He chose to continue working, to continue taking care of his family in his own way. The tragedy struck one year when he suddenly fell seriously ill. Illness came quickly and devastated him within months. From a healthy man, he became frail. For the first time, she clearly felt the fear of losing her life partner of several decades. During her time in the hospital, she sat by his bedside, watching him sleep. His face was more gaunt than before. His once strong hands were now thin and frail. The first time she stopped thinking about what she lacked. She only thought about family meals, the times he quietly fixed light bulbs. The evenings when the whole family gathered together. She suddenly realized that for all these years, she had always focused on what she lacked and forgotten what she already had. She used to resent not being able to continue her education, but she had a peaceful home. She used to be sad because her husband didn't express his love, but he never abandoned the family. He was always there, silently protecting them. During the days she cared for her husband, she personally cooked his favorite dishes. She listened to his weak breaths. She feared that time was running out. In that moment, she understood that happiness wasn't something far away. Happiness was having someone to hold hands with. Fortunately, after a period of treatment, he gradually recovered. His health was not the same as before, but he was out of danger. When he was discharged from the hospital, she felt as if she had been given back a precious gift. After that event, she changed. It's not dramatically, but a quiet shift in her perspective. She no longer talked much about her unfulfilled dreams. She began to cherish the mornings they spent together drinking tea. She listened to her husband's stories instead of just recounting her own sorrows. She also changed the way she talked to her children. Instead of talking about sacrifice, she talked about the joy of watching them grow up. She realized that love shouldn't be accompanied by reproach. Sacrifice is only truly meaningful when it comes from a voluntary decision and is made at the right time. On some afternoons, she would sit on the porch watching the sunlight spread across the yard. She would reminisce about her past life. In truth, she had experienced many happy moments. Her simple but warm wedding day. The first time her child called her mom. Family meals together. But because she was always chasing after what she didn't have, she had overlooked those things. She understood that fate isn't always fair, but how we perceive fate determines our emotions. If we only focus on disadvantages, we'll see life as completely unfair. If we are grateful for what we have, we'll realize we're much luckier than many others. The woman who once resented her fate her whole life has now learned to smile more. She no longer compares herself to anyone else. She knows that everyone has their own journey. What matters is not whether life is perfect or not, but whether we recognize its value. The major event brought her to her senses. It confronted her with the risk of losing what was most precious to her. And it was in that fear that she realized happiness had always been right beside her, in simple meals, in quiet acts of care. Her life didn't change completely after the incident. It was still the same old house, the same quiet husband, the same familiar rhythm of life, but her heart had changed. She learned to appreciate each ordinary day. She understood that happiness wasn't a distant destination, but the ability to feel what she had. Her story reminds us that sometimes we don't lack happiness, we just lack mindfulness. Search elsewhere and forget to look within ourselves. Only when a crisis occurs do we suddenly realize that the most precious thing has always been right beside us. If you're feeling like life is unfair today, try pausing for a moment. Look around and see what you have. Happiness may not be loud and boisterous. It lies in the little things. A family meal, a phone call to check in, someone who still waits for you every evening. Don't wait until you're facing the risk of losing something to realize its value, because there are things that, once gone, can never be brought back to how they were, no matter how enlightened you become. People often realize the value of something only after they've lost it. When we're healthy, we take it for granted. When we have family, we think they'll always be there. We have plenty of time ahead. We believe we can start over tomorrow. But only when one of those things is gone do we understand that there are some things in life that can never be bought back. Health is the foundation of all dreams. When we are young, it's easy to stay up late, overwork, and eat irregularly without much thought. We assume our bodies are strong enough to withstand it all. We sacrifice sleep to get work done. We ignore small warning signs like persistent fatigue or dull aches. We think that as long as we succeed and have money, everything else will be fine. But the body isn't an infinite machine. One day, when illness strikes, we're startled. Days in the hospital make us realize how precious a good meal or a peaceful night's sleep is. We realize that money can pay for hospital bills, but it can't buy back lost years of health. Once health declines, it's very difficult to regain its former state. The same applies to family. When living together under one roof, it's easy to get angry over trivial matters, get annoyed by our parents' reminders. We are irritated by their excessive concern. We believe we have the right to freedom and rarely think about their feelings. We believe that no matter what, our family will always be there for us. Then one day we go far away or a loved one passes away forever. The house remains, but there's no longer enough laughter. The familiar chair suddenly feels empty. The reminders of the past are now only memories. At that moment, we understand that the concern that once annoyed us was actually an expression of love. Family isn't something that lasts forever. Every moment together is fleeting. Time is fair to everyone, yet also the most cruel. Every day that passes is a day we can never get back. When we're young, we often procrastinate. We say we'll call home tomorrow, we'll start exercising tomorrow, we'll learn a new skill tomorrow, we'll apologize to the person we hurt tomorrow, but some tomorrows never come. Time waits for no one. It silently slips away, taking with it youth, opportunities, and even the people we love. Looking back, we realize how much we left undone. Unfinished plans become a source of regret. At that point, no matter how much money or status we have, we cannot turn back the clock. Some people are so preoccupied with making money that they forget to take care of their parents. They think that simply providing for their material needs is enough to fulfill their duty. But parents need more than just money. They need presence, a shared meal, a simple conversation. When parents grow old or pass away, expensive gifts lose their meaning. All that remains is a feeling of regret. Some people sacrifice their health for success. They achieve success and admiration, but their bodies are exhausted. Years of treatment for illnesses teach them that fame cannot replace a healthy body. They wish they had learned to balance things sooner. Some people waste time on meaningless arguments and disputes. They cling to their pride, refusing to apologize. They let relationships crumble because of their ego. Only when there's no longer a chance to correct their mistakes do they realize that an early apology could have saved so much. Health, family, and time are all intangible assets. When we have them, we rarely appreciate them because we don't see their tangible value. But when we lose them, the void they leave is very clear. We can buy a new house, but we can't buy back our youth. We can earn more money, but we can't buy back the years when our parents were still healthy. Modern life makes people rush faster than ever before. We are caught up in work, in social media, in grand goals. In this whirlwind, we forget the essentials. A family meal, a morning exercise session, an afternoon spent chatting with loved ones. These seemingly small things are the foundation of happiness. Realizing the value of something after it's been lost is a costly lesson. But if possible, we don't need to wait until we experience loss to learn it. We can choose to live more mindfully starting today. Take care of your health before your body starts complaining. Deciding to spend time with family while they're still around. Cherish each day instead of wasting it on meaningless things. Try dedicating a day to slowing down. Eat a meal without rushing. Call your parents to check in. Go to bed earlier instead of staying up late unnecessarily. Small changes can help us preserve big values. Loss is inevitable in life. It's the law of nature. But we can lessen regret by cherishing what we have while we still can. Knowing that health cannot be bought back, we will take better care of ourselves. Understanding that family doesn't last forever, we will love more. Being aware that time is limited, we will live more meaningfully. Don't wait until you're lying in a hospital bed to wish you had exercised. Don't wait until you stand before a loved one's portrait to wish you had expressed your love. Don't wait until your hair turns gray to regret that your youth passed by meaninglessly. Life doesn't give us a chance to start over, but it always gives us a chance to begin in the present. Right now, while you're healthy, have family, and have time, live a little differently, appreciate a little more, love a little more. Because there are things that, once lost, even if you have the whole world in your hands, you can't get back a single moment that's gone. Life is like a flowing stream. Each day that passes is a silent stream moving forward, never turning back, never stopping. People stand on the edge of time thinking everything remains the same, but in reality, everything is changing every moment. The philosopher Heraclitus once said that no one can bathe twice in the same river, because when you step in a second time, the water is different, and you yourself are no longer the same. The river of life begins the moment we utter our first cry. Childhood years pass by, carefree. We grow up without realizing how quickly time is slipping away. We think childhood will last a long time. But then one day we look back and all that remains are memories. The old house, the familiar road, the sound of our mother's voice in the late afternoon, all become part of the past. In our youth, we are like standing in a strong current. We want to move quickly, to surpass others, to reach great things. We believe we can control our future. We set goals, pursue our dreams, compete, and strive relentlessly. But just like a river, life doesn't flow according to anyone's will. There are calm stretches, and there are rapids and waterfalls. There are days when we succeed and think we have our destiny in our grasp. But just one setback, and we realize how fragile everything is. The water doesn't stand still for complacency. It continues to flow, carrying both glory and failure. If we cling to a particular moment and want to hold on to it forever, we only bring suffering upon ourselves. Heraclitus's philosophy speaks not only of the changing external world, but also of the changes within each individual. When we meet an old friend after many years, we often say that everything has changed. In reality, not only have circumstances changed, but our souls have also changed. Experiences, joys, and sorrows, setbacks, have silently shaped the person we are today. Some people regret the past and always wish to return to the best times of their lives. They remember their youth, their first love, their period of brilliant success. But a river never flows backward. No matter how beautiful the past was, it is only a memory. If we keep standing on the riverbank regretting, we will miss the flowing water right before our eyes. Some people fear the future because they don't know what lies ahead. They want everything to remain the way it is. But immutability is an illusion. Even if we do nothing, time still passes. Our bodies age every day. Relationships change. The world transforms. Resisting change only makes us more exhausted. Life, therefore, is not about trying to keep the water still, but about learning to swim in its current. When the water is calm, we appreciate it. When the current is strong, we learn to adapt. Sometimes we must let go of things that were once very important in order to move forward. A broken relationship can be painful. We wish things could go back to how they were. But if we look deeper, we'll see that both of us have changed. Expectations, thoughts, and priorities in life are no longer the same. The river has changed, and so have we. Accepting this helps us grow instead of wallowing in resentment. The same applies to work. There are times when we are passionate about a particular field, dedicating all our energy to it. But as the years pass, we realize we want a different path. That doesn't mean we were wrong in the past. It simply shows that we have grown. The river of life is leading us to a new shore. Even pain doesn't last forever. When we first experience loss, we think we'll never get over it. But time silently heals the wounds. One day, when we look back, we're still sad, but no longer despairing. The water has washed away some of the pain, leaving us with a deeper understanding. Understanding that no one can bathe twice in the same river helps us live more mindfully. We know that every encounter is unique. Every family meal, every conversation with loved ones, every moment of peace is never exactly the same. When we realize this, we become less indifferent. We will also be less arrogant when we succeed, knowing that circumstances can change. We will be less despairing when we fail, understanding that difficulties will eventually pass. Change not only takes things away, but also brings things in return. It takes away youth, but brings maturity. It takes away innocence, but brings wisdom. The river of life also teaches us about flexibility. Water bends around rocks. Water flows down into deep gorges. Water is not rigid, so it can travel very far. If people are too stubborn, wanting everything to go their way, they will easily clash and get hurt. If we know how to be flexible in the face of circumstances, we will be more at ease. There are things that worry us today, but looking back a few years later, we realize they were just a small detour. The river is much wider than we imagined. One failure doesn't define our entire life. One mistake doesn't define who we are forever. What matters is that we keep moving forward. Life is like a flowing stream, reminding us of the value of the present. When we bend down to look at the river, the moment we touch the water is the present. Only that moment truly exists. The past is gone. The future has yet to come. If we dwell on the past or the future, we will lose sight of the water flowing around us. Living fully doesn't mean possessing everything, but rather being aware of impermanence. When we understand that everything changes, we will love more sincerely. We will dare to say thank you, dare to apologize, and dare to start again when necessary. We understand that opportunities don't always come back. A river can carry us through many different landscapes. Some sections are full of flowers and grass, others are desolate. But no matter the scenery, the water still flows. The same is true for people. No matter the circumstances, we can still choose to live kindly and learn from experience. No one can bathe twice in the same river, and no one can relive the same day. Each morning is a new opportunity. but also part of a never-ending flow. When we understand this, we will stop wasting time on trivial things. We'll appreciate what we have more. Life is a journey of change. Accepting change doesn't weaken us, but helps us harmonize with the flow of life. And when we learn to swim with the current instead of against it, we will see that life, though impermanent, is still full of meaning. Every encounter is a matter of fate. Among millions of people out there, the fact that two people can meet, talk, and walk together, even for a short distance, is no coincidence. Some people come into our lives as gently as a breeze. Some enter our lives and stay for a long time. Some appear only for a moment, but leave a lasting mark. When we were children, we met our first friends. We didn't understand what fate was. We only knew that we enjoyed playing with someone because it made us happy. Those afternoons after school, the simple games, the carefree laughter, it all seemed so ordinary. But years later, looking back, we realized those memories can never be repeated. Some friends have gone far away, some are no longer in contact. That encounter from years ago turns out to be a gift from time. As we grow up, we meet teachers, colleagues, strangers who gradually become familiar faces. Each person who appears plays a unique role. Some inspire us, some give us opportunities, some hurt us. But whether the emotions are positive or negative, they all contribute to shaping the person we are today. There are encounters that seem purely coincidental. Sharing a ride, working together on a project, being introduced through friends. From these small moments, relationships begin to form. We can't know in advance who will become important in our lives. It is this uncertainty that makes each encounter special. Some people come into our lives to teach us lessons. They might be the ones who disappoint us. They might be the ones who leave when we have high expectations. At that time, we feel pain and resentment. We wonder why we even met them. But when we calmly reflect, we understand that thanks to them, we learn to be stronger. We learn to set boundaries. We learn to love ourselves. That lesson might come from a broken relationship, a betrayed friend, or a partner who broke a promise. Those who come to teach us lessons rarely stay long. They appear at the right time when we need to mature. When the lesson is complete, they leave. Although they leave behind sadness, they are still meaningful. Without those setbacks, we might remain naive and even more vulnerable. Besides, there are those who come to stay. They are not noisy, not dramatic. They are present in a persistent way. Perhaps a friend who always listens to our stories. Perhaps a life partner who shares our joys and sorrows. Perhaps a colleague who becomes a confidant. Their presence is like a warm light in a dark room. Those who stay don't do so because they have no other choice in life, but because they choose to walk alongside us. They accept both our strengths and weaknesses. They are there when we succeed and don't leave when we fail. This perseverance doesn't come naturally. It's nurtured by respect, trust, and sincerity. There was a time when we thought that fate was entirely predetermined. But the longer we live, the more we understand that fate also needs nurturing. Two people meeting is destiny. How long they can stay together depends on how they cherish each other. If they don't know how to preserve it, even the deepest connection can fade. In life, we will experience many partings. Some people who were once very close become strangers. Some people promised to walk with us to the end of the road, but then went their separate ways. Initially, we feel a sense of loss. But gradually, we understand that not everyone is meant to stay forever. Some relationships are only suitable for a certain period. Like trains, some people board at a station, travel with us for a few legs of the journey, and then get off. They're not wrong, and neither are we. It's just that everyone's journey is different. If we try to hold on to someone who no longer wants to stay, both of us will get tired. Letting go at the right time is also a way of respecting fate. Each encounter also helps us reflect on ourselves. When we are around a positive person, we tend to live better lives. When we are around someone who complains, we are also easily influenced. Therefore, the people we meet are not just coincidences, but also mirrors reflecting our inner selves. They help us realize where we are on our journey of growth. There are encounters that completely change our lives. A mentor who offers timely encouragement can lead us to choose a different path. A supportive friend can help us dare to try something new. Someone who genuinely loves us can help us believe in ourselves more. These changes begin with a seemingly ordinary meeting. When we understand that every encounter is a matter of fate, we will live more carefully in how we treat others. We will be less inclined to underestimate those we have just met. We'll cherish those who are by our side. We'll also learn to forgive those who have left because perhaps they have fulfilled their role in our lives. Life becomes easier when we don't try to control every relationship. We welcome those who come into our lives with sincerity. We bid farewell to those who leave with gratitude. Gratitude for their presence, whether brief or long. Gratitude for their contribution to our life story. Some people come to teach us how to love. Some people come to teach us how to let go. Some people come to teach us patience. Some people come to teach us strength. Some people come to help us write the longest chapters of our lives. If you meet someone today who makes you feel warm, cherish them. If you're hurting today because someone left, believe that this lesson will eventually make you stronger. Don't blame fate. See it as a flow that brings the right people together at the right time. Life is a collection of countless encounters. Every person who crosses our path leaves a mark. When we learn to view all relationships with understanding and gratitude, we will see that life, though impermanent, is not meaningless. It is these encounters that make our journey richer and more memorable. Tears aren't just for suffering. People often think of crying as a sign of weakness, hurt, or loss. But in reality, some tears fall not out of despair, but because of a moment of enlightenment. It's when we suddenly realize what truly matters in our lives. There are times when we cry because of failure, an exam that didn't yield the desired results, a project we poured our hearts into that didn't succeed, a long-held goal suddenly vanished. At those times, tears are a natural reaction to sadness. We feel our efforts went unrewarded. We feel insignificant in the face of the vastness of life. But after those tears, if we are calm enough to reflect, we will realize one thing. Failure not only takes away our achievements, it also gives us a lesson. It teaches us to reevaluate our approach. It reminds us that success does not come easily. When we understand that tears are no longer just an expression of pure suffering, but become a milestone of maturity. Tears are shed in moments of reunion. A child who has been away from home for many years returns, seeing their parents' hair turn gray. An old friend reunites after many changes. At that moment, the tears are not from sadness, but from emotion.
Ow.
We suddenly realize how quickly time has passed. We understand that family and friendship are irreplaceable. Tears also fall when we stand on the brink of loss. When a loved one falls ill, we realize how fragile health is. Things we once took for granted suddenly become precious. A full meal, a peaceful morning, a simple conversation. All become cherished wishes. In that moment, we awaken. We understand that what matters is not money or status, but the people who are still by our side. Some people are so engrossed in their careers that they dedicate most of their time to work and advancement. Family gradually becomes a secondary concern. One day, looking back, they see their children have grown up and their parents have aged. They cry, not because of poverty, but because they realize they have sacrificed too much precious time. Those tears are a belated awakening. Some people cry when they hear a sincere apology. After years of misunderstanding, the two can finally sit down and tell the truth. Tears then represent release. They wash away the accumulated resentment. They mark the letting go of ego and the choice to love. Tears don't only appear when we're weak. Sometimes they come when we're strong enough to face the truth. To admit we were wrong. To admit we were thoughtless. To admit we wasted time on things that weren't worth it. That admission isn't easy. Not when we do it, tears fall as a way of cleansing the soul. There are tears that fall in silence, unseen by anyone. That's when we sit alone, reflecting on life. We remember the people who have passed through our lives. We remember moments we were indifferent to. We understand that some opportunities never return. Those tears aren't loud, but they are deeply felt. Awakening doesn't usually come with applause or a spotlight. It comes in quiet moments. When we stand before a mirror and ask ourselves what we're living for, when we realize it's been too long since we've checked in with loved ones, when we feel weary of chasing after others' expectations, tears at that moment are a sign that our hearts still know how to feel. Some people have experienced major events like accidents or illnesses. After crossing the line between life and death, they burst into tears upon returning home and seeing their loved ones. They cry not out of fear, but out of gratitude. They understand that each day they are alive is a gift. From then on, they change their way of life. They cherish every meal, every hug, every morning they wake up. Tears still fall when we witness kindness. A stranger helps us in times of need. An act of kindness without expecting anything in return. In that moment, we realize that life is not just about calculations. We understand that what matters is not winning or losing, but the compassion between people. Sometimes we hold back our tears for fear of others thinking we're weak. But in reality, daring to cry when necessary is a sign of authenticity. Those who never cry may be hiding their emotions, but those who dare to let their tears fall when faced with something sacred are those who know how to live deeply. The awakening from tears helps us change. After crying because we realize how neglectful we've been to our parents, we'll proactively call them more often. After crying because we've wasted our health, we'll start taking care of ourselves. Crying because we've lost a relationship, we'll learn to love more fully in the future. There are tears that need no explanation. Only those involved truly understand. But what they all have in common is that they come from the heart. When the heart encounters the truth, tears will naturally flow. Tears don't weaken us. On the contrary, they lighten our hearts. They're like rain that soothes a stuffy atmosphere. After crying, we usually feel clearer. We know what we need to do next. We understand what's worth holding on to and what should be let go of. Life will bring many challenges. We will cry many more times. But if each tear brings with it a moment of enlightenment, we will grow stronger after each ordeal. We will learn to prioritize what is important instead of chasing after superficial things. Let tears remind us that we still have feelings, that we still know how to love, that we still have the ability to change. Don't be ashamed of genuine tears, because sometimes it is in the moments when we shed tears that we truly see the value of our lives. In the end, what remains isn't money or fame. People spend most of their lives pursuing success, status, and recognition. We strive to learn, work, compete, and constantly improve. We believe that having enough money and achieving fame will bring happiness. But the further we go on that journey, the more we realize a simple truth. When everything settles, what remains isn't the numbers in the bank account or the praise, but warm memories and peace of mind. Money is essential. It helps us cover living expenses, take care of our families, and fulfill our plans. Fame also has its own value. It recognizes a person's efforts and talent. But both money and fame are temporary. Today we may be at the top, but tomorrow, circumstances can change. The market fluctuates. Positions change. The admiration of others can also fade over time. Meanwhile, memories are what stay with us until the end of our lives. A family meal with everyone present, a trip filled with laughter, an evening spent together sharing simple things. These moments may not be glamorous, but when we recall them, our hearts warm. They are a treasure no one can take away. Some people spend their youth working tirelessly. They achieve many admirable accomplishments. But when they look back, they realize they've missed too many moments with their families. Their children grow up while they're away. Their parents age amidst hurried phone calls. When they finally have free time, they understand that the most valuable memories aren't found in boardrooms or on podiums, but in their cozy homes filled with familiar laughter. Inner peace doesn't come from possessing more than others. It comes when we know we've lived true to our own values, when we don't regret hurting anyone, when we can sleep peacefully without being tormented by wrong choices. Peace is the feeling of lightness when facing ourselves. There are people who possess a great deal but are always insecure. They fear losing their position. They fear being surpassed. They fear their glory fading. This fear prevents them from ever truly finding peace. Conversely, there are people who live simply, but always have a bright smile. They know contentment. They appreciate what they have, don't compare themselves to others too much. It is this contentment that creates serenity. When people face important moments in their lives, few think about money. In the moment of partying with loved ones, what we remember are the shared memories. In days of illness, what we need is a hand to hold and words of encouragement. No one can take possessions with them when they leave this world. But emotions and memories remain deeply etched in our minds until the very last moment. Warm memories don't just appear out of nowhere. They are created by genuine presence. When we put down the phone to listen to a story, when we take time for a family meal instead of rushing back to work, when we choose to forgive instead of holding on to resentment, each of these small choices contributes to an invisible treasure. Some people have sacrificed friendships for personal gain. They achieved what they wanted but lost trust. Later, looking back, they understood that genuine relationships are worth far more than short-term gains. A friend who can sit with you through difficult times is more valuable than superficial praise. Inner peace also comes from accepting oneself. It comes when we stop chasing other people's expectations and begin to listen to our hearts. When we no longer need to prove our worth by competing with others. When we understand that each person has their own unique journey. This acceptance helps us live more peacefully. Life is like a long journey. Along the way, we can accumulate many things. But at the end of the journey, we only keep those things that have touched our hearts. A loving glance, warm hug, a timely word of encouragement. These things cannot be measured in money, but they are incredibly valuable. If you're busy chasing big goals today, ask yourself this question. When it's all over, what do you want to remember? The contracts you've signed, or the laughter of your loved ones? The trophies hanging on the wall, or the peaceful evenings spent with your family? The answer might help you readjust your way of life. No one denies the value of effort and success, but true success lies not only in what we achieve, but also in how we live and the relationships we maintain. A person who achieves their goals while also maintaining kindness and gratitude will experience deeper happiness. After all, looking back on the journey, what makes us smile isn't the specific numbers, but the feeling that we've lived a meaningful life. We've loved wholeheartedly. We've tried our best. Haven't turned our backs on the people who matter. Money can be lost and then earned back. Fame can come and go. But warm memories and peace of mind are the result of a lifetime's journey. It requires us to make choices every day. Choose love instead of indifference. Choose honesty instead of deceit. Choose presence instead of haste. When we understand that, we will live differently. We will still strive and work hard, but we won't let material things completely control us. We will know when to stop and appreciate. We'll be grateful for the little things. And when we look back one day, we can smile peacefully, knowing that we haven't missed the most important things in life. Every life story will eventually come to an end. No one can live forever. No one can hold on to a moment forever. Time silently slips away day by day, taking with it youth, opportunities, and even things we never had a chance to say. But what matters is not whether the story is long or short, but how we choose to live each chapter of our lives. Some people look back on their lives and find only regrets. Regrets for not spending enough time with family. Regrets for the times they remained silent when they should have expressed their love. Regrets for being too busy with work and forgetting the simple values around them. These regrets are not loud, but they silently become an emptiness in the soul. But there are also those who, when they look back, smile. Because they are the richest or the most successful, but because they lived life to the fullest. They loved while they could, held the hands of their loved ones while they still had the chance. They apologized when they realized their mistakes, and said thank you while their hearts were still warm. Their lives may have had difficulties and losses, but they were not tragedies. They were meaningful journeys. We can't know what tomorrow will bring. A phone call can change everything. An event can make us realize what truly matters. So if you can still love today, love more. Don't wait until the distance becomes too great to regret your past indifference. If you can still express your care, don't hesitate. A simple question can warm an entire day. A hug can soothe wounds we can't see. Don't think you have plenty of time. Time always flies faster than you realize. Life doesn't demand perfection. It only asks for sincerity. Sincerity in our feelings. Sincerity towards those around us. When we live with that sincerity, each day becomes more valuable. And if this story touches your heart, if it makes you pause for a moment, amidst the hustle and bustle of life, please share this video to spread the message of love to more people. Leave your feelings behind, because who knows, your thoughts might be the motivation for someone who needs a reminder. Life's story eventually comes to an end, but starting today, you can choose to make it a warm journey, a journey full of love, and one with few regrets.